city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, topics, stipulations, first down, played it. Presenting topics from Kanye to Tom Brady. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. What a show we got for you today. We will be joined by the once again great Joe Aguiar to talk New York Yankee baseball. TAUCHMAN out for the year. The injury bug consistent with the New York Yankees. And when Stanton coming back, does he have the organization's trust? We'll talk about that as well. And you know Joe has something up his sleeve. We'll talk about Brian Cashman. Great contracts, but also some mistakes. We'll talk about that all with Joe. And then we'll talk college football. First 2 weeks looked good so far. We'll talk about the teams that have looked great and the teams that have the concerns. Speaking of teams that have concerns, Ted, that's our New York Football Giants. This offseason, a very intriguing offseason for this team. They finally draft a franchise quarterback that we've desperately been looking for. Okay, check. You trade away your best offensive player at the time to go back to the New York Giant football way, which is, Ted, running the football, pressuring the quarterback, and winning inside the trenches. Well, this past Sunday, none of that was displayed. The defense was nowhere to be found. Saquon Barkley was literally nowhere to be found.
Well, he was found.
He was found
on the field.
But what I mean by nowhere to be found, it's 15 touches for your best player, and if not the best offensive player in the game, non-quarterback, Saquon Barkley gets 15 touches against the Dallas Cowboys. If you're trying to rest him and all this stuff, Shermer comes out and says all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have that great of a talent on offense and you are running your offense around him, you made all these moves. You trade for Zeidler. You traded Beckham. You traded Vernon. You made all these moves to say that Barkley will be the face of your franchise. And you're telling me week one he gets the ball 15 touches?
Well, that's what David Gettleman told us. We are going to build a running team.
And yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. For 11 carries, 120 yards, first carry of the year, he gets a 59-yard run. No, that was a pass that he dropped the ball. He fumbled for the first time. But his first rushing attempt this year goes for 59 yards. He only got the ball 13 more other times after that. First 2 plays go to him, the next 13 plays. Ted, my biggest thing is you see these great weapons in the NFL. Receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Beckham, Antonio Brown, even these great players. And you look at the running back, Zeke, McCaffrey, give me some.
Jamison Crowder had 14 catches last week.
David Johnson, these great backs, Alvin Kamara, all had something in common. The teams got, with the exception of Zeke because of coming back, with the exception of him, all those players got the ball. Because they're their best offensive players. They're some of their best players.
The reason why I said
New York Giants,
I said Jamison Crowder because I use him as a slot receiver. And think about this. He had 14 catches in a game, right? The same amount of attempts that Saquon had. And there should be no comparison. Saquon Barkley and Jamison Crowder are not in the same conversation. But you're 100% right. You know, we saw this week in a press conference, Cam Newton kind of jokingly, and I think a little in a jealous manner, him joking with Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, speaking about Christian McCaffrey and how many times he touched the ball in last week's game against the Los Angeles Rams. He had over 10 catches. He had
29 touches yesterday or on Sunday. So when everybody wants to bash the Giants for the moves they made in the offseason, okay, none taken. That's understandable. They're going to get a lot of heat. But when you come into the new year with all those moves and all the past moves that you've made, and you decide you've predicated on running the football and getting back to New York Giant football style of play, and you decide to give your best player the ball 15 times?
I know about that.
You do. but 15 times?
We use him as a decoy.
And I don't care about the decoy. He should be on the field. If he's not, and you said, oh, he shouldn't get the ball every play. That's fine. But he should be on the field at all costs. Christian McCaffrey had to be on that field almost.
No, he was on the. No, I'll give you the exact stat. He was on the field 100% of the time.
100% of the time.
And he had 46.5% of the plays that he touched the ball
on Sunday.
Saquon touched the ball less than 28%.
Look, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's what Shermer said before you get into it. Shermer said that the game predicated for him not touching, in the sense that they were down, so they didn't use him. They threw the ball more, and that in the second quarter, where they thoroughly got dominated by Dallas Cowboys, they didn't run the ball. Now that doesn't mean he shouldn't be touching the ball. Listen, he's one of the best receivers. Listen, he's the best receiver on the Giants.
Okay.
He's the best running back in the league. You got to find ways to get him the ball. I mean, we saw it, and I'm not taking away from what we're talking about with the Giants, but I read an article last night, and they were talking about the Saints, and they were talking about Latavius Murray. And Latavius Murray got used late in the game for the Saints, but when the game got in pressing needs, they took Latavius Murray out and they started feeding. They started feeding Kamara the ball. They got him the ball in the screen. They ran the ball. Listen, Barkley. I said this to you last night. Barkley minimum has to touch the ball 20 times a game. I don't care
not even Barkley, but these great players, these great offensive
the best players in the game should be touching the ball.
They need to be on the field. And I told you last night, and we discussed it, and you said he's not going to get the ball 30 times. Okay, but he should be on the field 100% of the time. There's two plays that come to mind. It's late in the game. It's 28-10. The Giants are driving. You got a 3rd and 2. It
was a 3rd and 1.
You have Elijah Penny. And then you decide to run a play action with a quarterback that can't move for his life. And Saquon Barkley's nowhere to be found in those situations. So when you consistently harped on it that you made these moves in the offseason to get back to the way you were great at in the 80s, in the 90s, and in the 2000s, 2010s, winning Super Bowls because of what you ran the football, you played great defense, and none of that was on display on Sunday. And there was opportunities for
listen, this is what the Giants need to do. Feed him the ball.
It doesn't help that the Giants defense
was atrocious.
Couldn't stop anything. Couldn't stop a cold. They couldn't stop one thing. No pass rush.
Hold on.
No secondary. The secondary got torched. It doesn't help that you're up 7-0. Dallas goes to the next 5 drives, scores on every drive. Look, when you have an offense that lacks the potential, star potential, you got some players. Golden Tate out for 4 games. Sterling Shepard, a nice piece. Evan Ingram is a great piece. But when you have players, you lack that depth in talent. You have to give your best players the ball. And when you don't put the ball in your best player like a Saquon Barkley, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to win. I'm sorry. But when you see Eli Manning throwing 30 for 44, that's nice. But realistically, 30 for 44 for a 38-year-old quarterback that some people say is all done with, you have to be getting the ball to Saquon Barkley. He has to be in 100% of the time on your offensive snaps.
Now, what I was looking for, and I found it on my phone, and I took this picture the other day. Giants defense allowed 5 straight touchdown drives of 75, 93, 83, 75, and 89 yards after taking the 7-0 lead.
Is that good?
That's not great.
That's not good at all. That's what we're trying to say, is that when you have a defense, a young defense, that's going to struggle. You have to be able to have your best players on the field so you can try to do what. Now I know Dallas is one of the best teams in the league, and they probably are one of the deepest teams and most talented teams in the league all around. But you have to continue to have Saquon Barkley in. I can't stress enough when you see the Saints, who are a better team than the Giants, the Panthers, who are a better team than the Giants, that are using the Rams, teams that have these great running backs, and even the Jets, and you're not using Saquon Barkley to his full potential. When you see guys like Christian McCaffrey and Kamara dominating, you have to get him the ball to stand a chance in not even winning, but just being competitive.
Listen, I never understood the mantra of we're going to use him as a decoy or we're going to save him. Listen, running backs' years are short-lived. We know that.
Especially nowadays.
It's 6 to 8 years max, okay? So we got last year, this year, and maybe 5 to 6 more years of great Saquon Barkley. Use him.
Have to use him.
Use him. Now, getting Saquon the ball 25 times, was that going to make it a difference in the game? Absolutely not.
It probably doesn't change anything in the game. They probably still go on to lose. But just knowing that he had the ball in his hands or being on the field, okay, I'm all right with that. But if you're going to lose the way you did, and you have, at the end of the day, the stat line says Saquon Barkley had the ball 15 times in the entire 60-minute game, there's something wrong with that. For a team that lacks talent, there's something wrong with that.
So my biggest takeaways of the Giants game, and I'll summarize it in this. First, Saquon doesn't touch the ball enough.
Do you know how many times he got the ball in the second half?
4.
8. He hit the ball 7 times in the first half, that means. How is that? That is inexplicably disgusting and the wrong message you're sending to your team.
Okay, so it was 28-10. 3rd and 1, they run the fullback. Don't understand. Okay, whatever. You make the call. That's your call. You're the head coach or offensive coordinator. You're on Rashad Penny. 3rd and 1. All right, you don't get it. 4th and 1. How you don't give the ball to Saquon Barkley?
How he's not even in it twice?
He was in the play because it was a one-man rollout. He rolled out and Saquon was covered by the linebacker and
Shepard was.
It was Barkley out in the flat.
Okay.
It was Barkley out in the flat, but he was covered. They know it. Run the ball. Remember the play I sent you on Instagram the other day? It was a 6-yard run by the guy on Instagram, Bollinger, who does
Baldy.
Baldy. And it was a 6-yard run. It was a double spin for 6 yards.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
He's that great of a talent. And
listen, you give him the ball on 3rd down. Do you think Dallas is going to be 3rd and 1 and not give the ball to Zeke? Do you think it's 4th and 1 they're not going to give the ball to Zeke? You think Christian McCaffrey's not getting the ball? Mm-hmm. Do you think David Johnson? Do you think Le'Veon Bell? I mean, do you think Todd Gurley? I mean, these guys are special talents. Saquon Barkley is one of the most special talented running backs since we've seen, maybe since Barry Sanders. Now,
since AP was great.
Now, AP was great, but he didn't have the elusiveness that Barry Sanders. Now, the Detroit Lions were an awful team, but they fed the ball to Barry Sanders. You knew he was going to get the ball, and you still gave him the ball. Now, you might have stopped him on 1st down. You might have stopped him on 2nd down. But on 3rd down, he got a 15-yard run. Then you stop him on the next down. Then he'd break a 10-yard run. Then he'd lose 5. But that's what you have to live with. Saquon Barkley's that special of a talent. You got to give him the ball 20 times a game. Now, my other takeaway is Eli Manning and the offense are not as bad as we suspected. They can move the ball. Eli was efficient. His passer rating was over 95. They moved the ball. He threw for over 300 yards. Now, does he stretch the field? No.
Because
I know what you're going to say. They don't have a receiver that can stretch the field. They don't. Maybe when Golden Tate comes back and things will change. But they were efficient and they moved the ball. Now, the game could have been closer. But the reason why it was not, and my final takeaway is, the defense is not good. Mm-mm. Now, Giant fans have to be realistic. I am realistic. People are like, oh, you're not supporting the team. The Giants are not making the playoffs. The Giants are not winning the Super Bowl. Giant fans have... Would it be great? Yes, but that's not reality. Look at the Dallas Cowboys, okay? The Giants don't belong on the same field as the Dallas Cowboys. That's how good Dallas is. They have a better quarterback. The running backs are split 50-50. I don't care.
You could go either way.
Either way. Yeah. The Dallas has a better offensive line. Okay, the Giants have a better tight end.
The Giants' offensive line has improved.
But Dallas has a better offensive line. They have a better defensive line. They have great linebackers, and they have a better secondary. And when you add all those pieces together, they have a better complete team. That's what the Giants are striving for. The Giants don't have any pass rush. They have to figure that out going forward, or this is going to be a long season.
Here's my...
because this is not Patrick Mahomes at quarterback where you can score 40 points a game and outscore teams 40 to 30.
That question may be coming soon. If the Giants end up... Don't know what to expect this week because they play the
Daniel
Bills.
Jones was not going to make a defense.
No, he wasn't.
Unless he knows how to cover. Because when you have 2 touchdowns with blown coverages... That's an issue. That'll get fixed, but that also comes with a young secondary.
If the Giants have any hope of making this season, not a playoff or Super Bowl aspirations, but a competitive season, They got to come out this week and they got to play well against a team it's a winnable game, the Bills. It's a winnable game. But first thing you have to do is get 26 the ball, and you have to have him on the field at all costs, especially with Sterling Shepard maybe out, possibly. My three biggest takeaways, I think it's very similar. The offensive line, vastly improved from a year ago. I think that's going to be one of our biggest strengths going forward this season. Saquon Barkley needs to get the ball. Eli played well, and he didn't play to a point that we didn't lose. Dallas is just far more talented and a more complete team than the New York Giants right now. And the Giants defense needs a lot of help. It could be a long season. We got to see how Sunday happens. Daniel Jones, if the Giants lose this weekend, depends how they lose. It could be coming. That question could be lurking. You know it's going to be lurking every week. But like I said, the Dallas Cowboys, I know we've been bashing the Giants. I've seen a lot of comments. The Giants have been this, they're bad. They've been horrible. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. The Dallas Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league. So we're going to do something
and
new.
They've been trending this way.
So we're going to do something new this year. Every week, we're going to give you our top 10 power rankings.
Based on the week before's performance.
Yes.
Not overall, but by the team's performance the week before.
So the Dallas Cowboys come into... Yes, a major blow for the New York Jets.
Before you get into that, I think you just, for people who have not seen it, there's breaking news.
Jet fans, if you haven't heard.
Well, NFL fans, because if you're a big fan of Monday Night Football, the Jets next week are playing a home game against the Cleveland Browns. It was looking forward to a Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold matchup. I was looking forward to.
People might not know still what you're talking about. Well, Sam Darnold is going to be out for this week with mono and possibly a couple weeks.
That's a huge blow.
It's just the luck.
That's a huge
It's the luck
loss.
of. I'm telling you, the Jets and Mets have some sort of luck. Bad luck.
That takes
on their turn.
That not only hurts the Jets, but it hurts the NFL, especially Monday night.
Because Monday Night Football, this could have been a great storyline.
Huge.
Baker versus Darnold. We finally get this. We get to see him again on Monday Night Football with Beckham coming back, and they just probably lost a half of their mojo. Now it's like, okay, but the Browns should take advantage. We'll talk about them in a couple minutes.
I'm sorry I had to interrupt.
No.
That's
big
something
news.
that is breaking news.
I mean, you look at the New York Giants right now struggling, and then the Jets. Guess what? They just lost their franchise quarterback for a couple weeks due to mono. It could be a factor going forward if this kid can't stay healthy or health-wise. I'm telling you, it ruins a player's career. Just ask Andrew Luck and the Colts. So our top 10. Each and every week, we're going to give us our top 10 teams. It could change each and every week. Ted, would you want to say your top 10 list?
Yes, and I'm going to start. I'm going to start from 10 and work my way down. Okay. My number 10 team, and I chose this.
Who's your number 10 team?
Number 10 team was the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 9, the Packers. Now, did you want to go back and forth, 10 and 10 or 9?
No, go through your
9,
10.
I had the Packers. 8, I had the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 7, I had the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Number 6, I had the Minnesota Vikings. Number 5, the Cowboys. Number 4, the Rams. Number 3, the Saints. Number 2, the Chiefs. And I think everyone, if you don't have them number 1,
shame on you.
You didn't watch football last week, and you haven't been watching football for the last 20 years.
Were you watching football last Sunday night?
For whatever I remember. The New England Patriots are the number 1 power ranking football team going into week 2. In my ratings, that's what I see.
Without
do you have any? I'll ask you first. Do you have any questions with regards to my top 10? And then I'll ask you.
Yeah, Philly. Why so low?
I don't like that they spotted Washington 17-0. And then at the end they gave up.
They came back, and the way they handled it, and they came back to take care of business. I mean, the score says 5 points, but they were up 32-20.
They were home. They didn't start off great.
That's a division game. The Giants started off hot, and then
17-0 though. They spotted.
That is true.
To Case Keenum.
I don't have an issue with your. I don't have an issue with your top 10. To be 100%. You didn't have the Packers.
I did. I had the Packers number 9.
Packers at 9. Chargers at 10.
And the only reason why I didn't have them higher is because offensively they didn't look great, but defensively they looked very good. They looked much more improved than I've seen in the last 2 to 3 years.
So my top 10. Number 10 is the Minnesota Vikings. Number 9, the LA Chargers. 8 is the Packers. 7, the Baltimore Ravens. 6, the Philadelphia Eagles. 5, the LA Rams. 4, Who Dat Nation. 3, the Boys. 2, the Chiefs. And number 1, of course, like I said last week, the best team in the NFL. And Ted thought this team wasn't going to win 13 games. Good luck trying to beat this team. The New England Patriots.
Won one game.
They beat a pretty good team. I know it's at home, and you picked the Steelers. You picked the Steelers to win that game, and the Patriots made them look like the worst team in the NFL, maybe.
So my question is, why the Cowboys 3? And it doesn't really make a difference
because
it's only power rankings.
Because
it can change week to week.
I think they are the most complete team
in the NFC.
In the NFC,
are they the team to beat in the NFC going forward? Not the NFC East, the NFC.
The team to beat to me in the NFC going forward right now, I would say the Dallas Cowboys, but going forward, I still think it's going to be.
So based on what you're saying, we are going to have a Patriots Cowboys Super Bowl.
For my top 10 teams, could be having the unthinkable, the nightmare situation for many fans of the NFL.
Or the Giant fans.
No, many fans, because there's a lot of people that don't want to see the Patriots again, and we all know how Dallas is. They're either loved or they're hated. I picked the Cowboys because I think they're the most complete team in the NFC. I know the quarterback is always a question mark, but when you're playing a team like the Giants, whose defense is pretty bad right now, any quarterback can look good.
I also think
the Saints are the team that we have to keep an eye out just because they're hungry. They want revenge. They want to get to a Super Bowl finally and get over that bad luck loss.
And you know what I noticed in both of our rankings? It's dominated by the NFC. Now we both had 4 AFC teams. We both had the Chargers, Ravens.
I have 6 AFC. I have 6 NFC teams.
I know. So why? 4. The Ravens, Chargers. I'm surprised. Chiefs. And the only reason I think we have the Ravens, which we probably would not have, was because I know they beat Miami.
Anytime you put up almost 60 points in an NFL game, I don't care who you're playing.
Other guys get paid too.
That is impressive. They are all professionals. I know the Miami Dolphins are a bad team, but they are, again, professionals. And anytime you could beat a team by 50 points, you got to put them in. I don't care how bad that team is.
It could have been worse because Lamar got taken out.
Dude, they could have put 70 on. I mean, you think about it. It was 42-3 at half. Now, we bashed the Giants for not looking good, but I think we can all agree that the Miami Dolphins will be the worst team in the NFL by far this year.
You know what will be a real fun test to say this week? The Miami Dolphins versus the Patriots. Now, it's a
Did you just say this will be a fun... You should get... No. Before you say another word, I want you to get a muzzle and get tape and tape yourself and tape your mouth shut after the absurd
former Belichick coaches
statement you just made.
Former Belichick coaches
do
well against him. They were 2-0 last year. The Titans and
who was 2-0?
The Titans.
Oh yeah, Patricia and
the Lions and the Titans both blew out the Patriots. And
if anybody's watching this currently right now, I want a new hashtag, get rid of Ted. Hashtag get rid of Ted after a statement like that. I can't be having stuff like that. We can't be having...
Miami's going to cover the 19.
We can't be having nonsense on this show like that, bro.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's going.
Are you talking about cover or just like them being competitive?
It'll be a closer game. It will be a closer game than the Steelers Patriots game.
People are texting you right now telling you how ridiculous you sound.
I'm not ridiculous.
You just said that the Dolphins were going to play the Patriots competitively.
They can't be any worse than last week, so they can only go up.
Okay, they'll lose 50-10.
No, they're not losing 50-10. I'm telling you, it's going to be a closer game. Oh. It's going to be the shock of the week.
Are you picking the Dolphins to win now? Ted, we might have to take
Kenyon Drake.
The Dolphins were a better team last year than they are right now. Ted, we might have to seriously consider finding somebody else on this show.
It might happen. New England struggles in Miami.
If the Dolphins do somehow beat the Patriots, okay, I won't say anything. I'll be speechless. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. The Miami Dolphins won't score more than 10 points. They're not scoring more than 10 points against the Patriots. You want to make that bet? I'll go with that. They won't even score again 10 points. They won't score 10 points.
Oh, they'll score 10 points.
No.
Yeah,
it'll be like 42-10.
No, it won't.
Mark, you're really serious?
Yes. I'm telling you, I'm serious. Fitzmagic.
I can't believe this right now. I can't believe this nonsense.
definitely
I was hoping for a good show, and the show is already ruined now because of this nonsense.
Listen, we got our power rankings. It's only one week.
So it's going to be each and every week. It's going to be each and every week. It could change throughout, but if I had to pick right now, the top 3 teams, I know a lot of people might say the Cowboys. Why? I know they played the Giants, but their defense is nasty. Their offense, they got a number 1 receiver. They got a good number 2. They got one of the best backs in the game who's not even 100% ready to be himself. And they have a quarterback that has a lot to prove this year. I'm still stunned that you made that comment. You're out of your mind. Don't talk to me about sports again.
I'm telling you.
Speaking of proving, teams that came in last week with a lot of expectations. Great expectations, high expectations, whatever you want to say. Playoffs, AFC championships, NFC championships, Super Bowls. Well, some of those teams got embarrassed. I'm not talking about teams like the Dolphins. We posted it on this week, and I saw people say the Dolphins. I'm like, no, we knew the Dolphins were going to be bad. The one team I saw that was consistent, or 2 teams, were in the same division. They're both in the AFC, and they both got embarrassed by 30 points last week.
We did.
But the 2 teams that I saw consistently with fans was the Steelers and the Browns. The teams that completely 2 different directions. The Steelers get rid of the drama. The Browns embrace the drama, and both teams got demolished. I know the Steelers played the Pats, but the Titans coming in and that's just slapping the Browns around.
I think that's more. Well, here's the thing. It was really down to the 4th quarter when the Browns took the lead and scored 21 points and really expanded the lead on the Browns. So we said, we talked about this right before the show. Teams you don't want to start 0-2 going into the NFL season.
It's not good.
It's a 16-game season. Listen, every game in the NFL, unlike any other sport, is college football is close, but every game is so meaningful, especially division games. Now, and then conference games. So we said, what teams need to prove it? Because when you start 0-2...
Is it that obvious?
When you start 0-2...
No, but is it obvious who the teams that are...
Well, do you think the 4 teams that I said before him are the 4 obvious? I won't mention them yet, but what I was going to say
I agree with
the 4 teams. Because those 4 teams all have at least playoff aspirations, if not Super Bowl aspirations.
I would agree with the 4. I would have no disagreement on your 4 teams.
Well, here's the difference. When you go 2-0, you have almost a 60% chance of making the playoffs based on the numbers. That's what the odd sharks say to us.
Yeah.
When you start 0-2,
only numbers, you got to play on the field.
When you say 0-2, the number drops to 12% to make the playoffs. Now we've seen the Giants start 0-2 and 0-7, and they made.
Look at the Texans last year, 0-3,
0-3,
and they made the playoffs at 11-5.
In the NFL, putting yourself in an 0-2 hole is not favorable for you going forward. And especially if you're playing an interdivision or an interconference game, it hurts you down the road. You're always playing.
So who were the 4 teams?
So I said, what are the 4 teams that desperately need a win this week after last week's loss? And I said the 2 AFC teams I felt were obvious, and they're in the same division. It's the Browns and the Steelers. Both of us I had them both making the playoffs. I had the Steelers making the Super Bowl and losing to the Saints. Now, we'll see what happens. It's a long season. Mm-hmm. But the Steelers got crushed in New England. Now, I think anyone might have got crushed last week in New England. Good thing the Giants.
According to Ted, he had the Steelers. Ted, again, was wrong on a prediction.
Now, the Browns, too. They lost to the Titans.
And who were the other 2?
And the other 2 teams in the NFC. And they're the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons. Uh-huh. I have high aspirations for them.
Every year you do.
I do. But they have the talent. So I have to. Why would I think otherwise? Right? They have the quarterback, they have the running back, receiver, the offensive line. The defense is healthy this year. Let's see what happens. The other thing is the Chicago Bears. Now, you would say, hey, listen, Ted, they didn't really get crushed, but their offense looked putrid against the Green Bay Packers in the first week of the season.
You can say that.
Now, they had the extra days. They had the 3 extra days with playing the game on Thursday, but they need a win. They need to show that they're the Chicago Bears of last season. So for me, those are the 4 teams that cannot start 0-2.
Okay.
People say, well, what about the Giants? I know the Giants, but I don't look at the Giants as a Super Bowl and playoff team.
All right,
Sorry, the Bears, the Falcons, the Browns, and the Steelers for me.
How about this then?
Yes, sir. Talk to me.
Narrow it down to the 1 team out of those 4. Who faces the most? The Browns now with Darnold going out, I mean, most of us would probably come to possibly an agreement that this is the Browns' game to win and take advantage of the injury.
I would say the Browns. Here's the thing. The Browns have a tougher schedule going forward. If you look at the Browns...
No, but if you had to pick one out of those four now...
I would say the Browns... 2 reasons. One, because of all the noise beforehand, the media coverage, everything that started preseason, all the big talk. The Browns are here ready to play. If they go 0-2, now especially now going to play the Jets, that would be a debacle. It'd be a travesty. They got to win this game now. They have the better quarterback now that Darnold's not on the field. C.J. Mosley's out for the Jets.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe out. He's got to go. There's already issues.
It's all shaping up for the Browns to
win.
take care of business on Monday
The
night.
Steelers, I think they'll win. And I don't.
You look at all the matchups, Ted, and all the teams. The Steelers play Seattle.
Yep.
Could be tough.
Very tough matchup.
Chicago goes to Denver.
Tough matchup.
Could be tough.
Face their former coach, Fangio.
Could be tough. The Sunday night game, the Falcons play the Eagles. That could be tough. And then the Browns on Monday night could be. I know that looks like that's a winnable game. But all those teams could easily start 0-2.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Browns have the best chance of starting 1-1.
I think the team that as
the Steelers
is the Steelers, just because they got rid of all the drama. They got rid of Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, and they came back to who they rightfully are. The one of the proudest organizations in all of sports, the Pittsburgh Steelers. You come in on Sunday night on national TV against the champs to prove that we belong with this team, and you get shellacked up and down the field for 60 minutes and don't even put up you lose 33-3. You have to come back this week and make a statement against a very good Seattle team. This is a team that has a good defense. They have Russell Wilson. I mean, it's a big. I mean, you look at these.
He's got to play good.
Oh, he does, of course. But Pittsburgh, you got to come in and you got to take care of business, because if you go down 0-2, and with Baltimore playing Arizona, all signs point to Baltimore possibly winning again, going 2-0. You could be down 2 games right off the bat. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and Ted, that was your AFC champion coming out of preseason. So they got to come in and take care of business.
And if Seattle's going to be, you make a good point, because they got a tougher matchup against Seattle.
And Seattle's no slouch.
If they go 1-2 now, and the Browns go 1-1, and the Ravens go 2-0, now they're 2 games behind the Baltimore. They're a game behind the Browns. You're playing catch up, and we know in the league it's tough.
And look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati could start off 1-1. They're playing San Fran. I mean, right there, you could be at the bottom of your division, in a division we all thought would be taken care of by the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have to come in. Big Ben, I expect to have a big week against Seattle. I think they take care of business. If I had to look at all the team of those 4, I expect Chicago to come back, bounce back. I expect the Browns to take care of business, especially now with the injuries of Darnold and C.J. Mosley not playing, and Le'Veon in question. And the Falcons, I don't see the Falcons winning. I see the Falcons starting off 0-2. They got to play Philly. Philly's a good team. Philly's going to be tough. So I expect out of those 3 teams, the Atlanta Falcons to be the 0-2 team.
A lot of great matchups this weekend.
There are a lot of great matchups. The NFC Championship matchup, all they've been talking about is that damn penalty from 5, 6, 7 months ago. Who cares? It's a new year. It's a new day.
I mean, that game I'm really looking forward to. The Monday night game I'm looking forward to. The Eagles-Falcons game. And then, I'm always interested in the Minnesota Vikings Green Bay game. For me,
it's a 1 o'clock game.
Kirk Cousins, can you prove that you're not the weakest link on your team? You can't be a 500 quarterback. This is a make or break here. And of course, we didn't talk about it, and I know we're not going to get into it, but tonight's game, both teams 0-1, Tampa Bay and Carolina, both number 1 picks, Cam Newton and Jameis Winston. You both got to show up. I mean, Cam, shut up.
Cam's making comments.
I wish I could say the word.
Just shut the hell up and play the game, man. Who cares if you're your best player? Give him the ball.
You're not the best player on the team no more, bro. You're not.
Christian McCaffrey is your best player on your team. You have to give him the ball. And then Jameis Winston, do you want to be a franchise quarterback? Do you want to even be on a team next year? Or a starting quarterback, to say the least? Then you have to play well. I think my most interesting game could be a blowout, but I just want to see Kyler Murray against Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to be great. The 2 fastest quarterbacks in the league running around. I think it's going to be great. I'm very intrigued by that game. And Ted's favorite game of the week is the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. Expect the upset.
Exactly. Not the Giant game. We didn't even mention the Giants.
And when we take a break, guess what? Ted won't be back on the next show. We're going to have Joe on coming to start.
Welcome, Joe.
Speaking of Joe, he's coming on next. Are we ready to talk some baseball?
We are, man. We're always ready.
We're ready to talk some baseball because
we have some major issues that we're gonna have to discuss.
And we'll discuss it. And trust me, if you're tuning in, stay tuned because we will be talking with Joe Aguiar to talk New York Yankees baseball. If you missed the first part of the NFL talk on Keys to the City, you could check us out on Spotify and YouTube as well, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are Keys to the City from All Noise Radio. We'll be right back, folks.
Sports, we've got sports. Here on Keys to the City, brought to you by All Noise Radio. Here's your hosts, Trevor and Ted.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. Look who is back. They're weekly. What are you doing over there?
Somebody left business cards.
Business cards. Well, we might need a new. I might need a new co-host after you didn't hear. So Ted made a prediction before we get into Yankees, and he thinks the Dolphins are possibly going to beat the Patriots.
No, I did not.
No,
say
you did. You said don't be surprised.
Listen,
don't back away from it.
Listen,
Ted.
I said don't be surprised because they do struggle in Miami. Fitzmagic and Belichick, when he faces his former coaches, does struggle.
He's out of his mind. A team that just lost by 50 points, he thinks he's going to beat the best team in the league.
Pat sent me a thing last night. Barstool Bets. Every time the Patriots in their career they've been favored by more than 15 points, they did not cover the 15-point spread. They're favored by 18.
I think he's out of his mind.
I'm taking the Dolphins.
I did tell your brother earlier that I believe the Redskins are going to beat the Cowboys this week.
I think you're both out of your damn mind.
I like where your mind's at.
And the only reason I said that was I don't think the Cowboys are as good as they.
Oh my God!
I really don't. They're good. They're very good.
But they beat up on a bad Giants team.
I think this week they're going to come down to earth and realize.
I want to say I like what you guys did last night. The jawing with the Giants, that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, right? New show. I'm excited about it.
You know what? That's why you're on baseball.
So
and not
Joe,
talking football. After comments like that, and we might have to minimize his.
So Joe, now what is that show? Is that just a Giant podcast?
We do cover a little bit of the news around the league, and then we also do the whole fantasy element, which I'm leading my fantasy league after week 1, and I did my picks last week, and I was 10-3-1.
Good, nice. I got Frankie 10 wins. He sent me the thing,
only because I predicted the Giants to win.
I did, but
that was so silly of me. I knew better.
And me and Trev won our fantasy week last week.
Speaking of podcasts, what have you guys been discussing on the roll call right now with the Yanks? I mean, what's going on? What we've seen from the Yanks. What happened the other night? I was at work and I saw they were up 6-0. I'm like, okay, nice. Well, I didn't know. Then they lose 12-11. They just kept.
That was a weird game because
really? It was a very weird game.
They went with a lot of guys that won't ever pitch.
Yes,
they're not going to be. It was a weird thing to do. I think he thought he could get away with.
Was it like a day off?
It seemed like a day off.
Okay.
Again, for a team trying to win home field advantage, it was not Aaron Boone's best moment. He eventually ended up bringing in Britton and Ottavino.
But you look back at games and say we lose, by like.
This one could come back to haunt us.
Yeah, we don't get the home field advantage, and you look back at like a game like that, you lose 12-11 to Detroit, you're like, that's a game you got to win because say we lose by one game and Houston's got home field.
Well, Houston lost last night.
Especially when you're up 6-0 against the worst team in baseball. Finish them off.
Did you see though the Astros won 2 nights ago, like 21-6 over the A's. The next night, the A's won like 20-5 over.
Their offense is
crazy.
Offense is legit.
First of all, I look at it as 20 runs in a game in baseball is incredible. I don't care juice balls or not. But then,
they just broke the home run record again.
I think it's good for baseball.
You don't think it's good?
It's good for baseball. No one wants to see 3-2. It's like soccer. No one wants to see.
Well, it's unfortunate.
I know.
It's unfortunate, and I get it. I'm not gonna. I mean, everyone's I think come to terms with it. I find it funny. There's still people that are like, like, I'm starting to think the balls are juiced. You think so? I mean,
nothing gets by you.
but like 8 teams are going to have over 200 home runs this season. That's insane.
But you see balance in that with the home runs. But here's the thing. Now maybe we don't have 50 home run hitters right yet.
You might be on the verge of a couple guys hitting 50 this year.
Well, here's the thing. Yelich is hurt.
Trout
now.
might be one of
Yelich is
them.
hurt, which definitely hurts the home run.
The MVP race.
Trout is hurt right now.
Yes.
Trout's hurt. So right now it's Pete Alonso.
and he's a Met, so there's that.
Hey, they're still fighting.
Kudos to them.
Hey, did you see last night that the Mets won 9-0 and had 11 hits?
I know that was.
How about talk about
that was special.
That was ideal. That was pretty ideal.
It's weird when things like happen like that. You know, like there's always like games or certain things like Brett Favre. When I remember Monday Night Football against
his grandfather,
his father died.
It has one of his best game ever.
He was just I remember I was like got the club. I was like 18 years old and just chucking the ball up.
Speaking of not weird, is the New York not the New York Giants, the New York Yankees injury bug. Now Tautman's out. You roll your face, you roll your eyes. You're like,
yo, my buddy
again.
Stunning.
My buddy Paul Standish comes into work. He goes, bad news for the Yankees. And my buddy Bill, who's huge, he's like, don't come into work and start saying bad news.
No, but is it really?
Who would ever have thought?
Is it really bad news when when the team is still winning?
No,
do you think it's you? I think you're starting to lean towards.
I got something to say about that.
It's happening right now.
Who would have ever thought on September 12th of 2019 that having Mike Tautman out for the rest of the season is a major concern for the Yankees? Because it is.
At the beginning of the year, yeah.
Because right now, your trust and faith is in a guy who plays less than 20 games so far, and Mike Stanton to play left field.
Mike Stanton.
Oh, wow. So I'll say Mike Stanton.
He used to pitch.
Giancarlo Stanton. Or
you look like you're about.
Or is it because they're not going to
look at him? He's holding it. It works out.
Okay, they're not going to put Clint Frazier in left field. I don't think they put trust, and I don't think they're going to put Tyler Wade. So then you're like, all right, what do we do?
Well, with no Hicks too. I mean, it looks like Hicks is done for the year.
He is.
So
did you see the report?
I did.
He's out.
That stinks.
See you later.
We'll get into that.
7 years,
But with
$70 million.
Tauchman out, I mean, there were a lot of people in the last 2 months who had decided that even if Stanton came back, that Tauchman should start over him. Those people are.
Come on, Joe.
Did you?
Yeah.
No.
No, because
come on. You were joking.
No, well, here's my.
He wasn't joking about the Patriots, so I don't think.
My point was this. I didn't really say starting, but I said this.
You would choose him. You prefer him?
Yes, Tauchman. Because when we were talking about this, and because we got into a big argument, I said, "How are you going to?" Because we got into the Severino thing. How are you going to rely on a guy that has not played that much baseball? It takes reps.
Do you think he forgot how to play?
No.
Hold on. Do you think he's not going to get at bats before he comes back?
Not enough. Because we talked about
he's probably not going to get enough. But how many at bats does Giancarlo Stanton need?
I think at least 50.
I don't think so.
So they say it takes like 81 to 100.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
I'm just saying when you've been hurt, to be reliable, and every pitch and every situation is much more crucial in the playoffs. I don't know. I would put it this way. I'd roll him in and out. Maybe you start him in the thing and you bring Tauchman in for 6th, 7th, and 8th. So you have his bat and you go defensively later in the game, or because
I'm fine with that plan. That plan's
but
fine.
I don't know if he starts all 5 games in a playoff series. If it's the first round, I'd probably start Tauchman against a righty.
It's hard for us to gauge Severino and Betances and Stanton
until they get the last 2 weeks into the season.
Until you see him in action. I mean, if Stanton comes back and he goes 0 for 30, well, then you're going to want to rethink things. If he comes back and he goes, 12 out of 24, well, then the decisions are made.
Yes, absolutely.
So it'll be easy. My thought is this guy's been staying in shape. He's been around the team. He's been taking a lot of BP lately. He's trying to get himself right. He's not going to come back till he's ready, obviously, or he would have already been back.
Does that help at all with Tautman going down, but Stanton possibly coming back Monday, they were saying?
Best case scenario is how this really works.
Do you think that's still, does that even everything out? Does that mesh everything?
So I will say this.
Does.
I will summarize this in my feeling. The Yankees have been dealing with this all year. And we've been like, oh, well, this guy's out and it's going to hurt this. They just keep winning. So at the end of the day, you know what? If we got to have if Tyler Wade has to be our left fielder because he's the best defensive guy that we have there, then so be it, because there's 8 other guys that can produce on this team. Gardner will be efficient enough at center field. Judge, Sanchez, Carnacion, Voit, Gio,
I don't think anybody wants to hear the name Tyler Wade.
I know
So
that.
Clint Frazier, I guess I'm a little confused by.
I'd like him, but I don't think they're going to trust him in the playoffs.
What's not to trust?
Joe, I don't think they trust him defensively. Everything you read, it's like,
He's looked good since he's been back in limited opportunities. Threw a guy out at the plate, looked pretty good on that play.
I saw that was money throw.
Great.
And now I can only go off of what I read.
Yeah.
And what I hear. It's like, and everything I've read is Frazier will not be on the postseason roster. Now, I don't know if.
Do you think they would go with Tyler Wade over Clint Frazier?
I hope.
I only say yes in the sense of this.
I hope not.
No, of the same guy who manages the Dodgers, because Tyler Wade
Dave
could
Roberts.
be Homer Bush when they had him back in the day, and his speed, they can bring him in to steal bases. That's what they used to do with Homer Bush. They were talking about in the Yankee
Like
game.
Dave Roberts.
You used to come in and they said you knew he was going to steal.
Come on,
Either
don't you remember Dave Roberts? He's the reason why the Red Sox came back to win.
He's the most important player on that Red Sox team.
Ruined our lives, didn't he?
But I'm thinking Tyler Wade's speed could be a difference. You need a stolen base late in the game or a run. He might be that difference. I know it sounds stupid and Tyler Wade can hit. I don't know.
Well, then why not Cameron Maben?
Well, that's actually really the guy.
That's who should be. That's who.
Because I think he can. I think he could do some pinch running. I think he could play a solid outfield.
Who do you think
I
will
think
be
he'd be a good defensive replacement. Say Stanton is in there. I think that could be your guy to cover basically all the bases.
No, I believe that too.
Speaking of Stanton, do you think he'll ever gain the organization's trust? Do you think the Yankees will ever just trust him anymore?
I don't know that they don't as much as I think the fans and the media.
Do you think they made a mistake of making that trade for him? Just because of all the injuries now, the contract, nobody's ever going to want to take that contract if they're looking to trade him. I mean, do they have trust in Stanton?
So here's my thought. I mean, this is the same Brian Cashman that didn't want to spend money on Dallas Keuchel and Corbin and quite a few other guys.
That's fine. We're winning.
He made that decision, and he knew what was coming with it, what he was going to get, the kind of player he was going to get in Giancarlo Stanton. So I think if you asked Brian Cashman that question, I think you get a very different answer than you'd get from most other people. Again, the Marlins throwing all the money they are into that. I mean, you're getting that guy really at a steal. You're getting him at about $22 million a year, with the Marlins paying the rest of that. So him being out all year, I mean, you could be angry about it. You could lump him in with Greg Bird and Jacoby Ellsbury. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I think this guy comes back, he starts hitting home runs, and everyone's going to love him again. And that'll solve all its problems going into 2020 and beyond.
Does the organization have the trust in him and faith in him anymore?
I don't know why they wouldn't. He hasn't done anything said anything that would make you feel otherwise.
Well, he's got the player option next year, and we've talked about in the show. I think he'll opt in. He'd be stupid not to. He's not going to get the deal or the money that he's going to get annually if he stays with the Yankees. I think the bigger question going forward is Hicks. I'm telling Joe, we talked about it, and I kind of wavered with you. I was like, 7 years. I'm like, Joe, how you give him 7 years? So you're like 10. It's only $10 million a year.
22 minutes ago, Severino set to return Tuesday.
All right, beautiful.
He's starting.
Beautiful. And listen,
the Angels.
Everything that we've read is
that was 22 minutes ago.
What we talked about. Severino, it was in the paper yesterday in the Post.
That's a good sign to see him coming back.
What they were going to do yesterday, and I don't know if they're going to do it today because we got a doubleheader today, was they were going to start CeCe and then bring Domingo Germán in. I think he's the most important player on the Yankees right now. As a pitching guy.
Severino?
Germán.
Because
I think it's Paxton.
They were talking about the out-getter. That's what they used to use in with the Brewers, the out-getter. He's going to be an important guy. They're going to use him as a starter. They're going to use him in the bullpen. They're going to use him, hey, you know what? We need 2 outs in the 5th. CeCe gave us 4 and a third. Come in, get us the 2 outs, and let's go.
Speaking of Cashman, I'm glad you brought up Brian Cashman because he's made some great moves. Made some great decisions. Not signing Machado, Harper, Corbin, Keuchel, getting Glaber, but then he makes a decision like signing Aaron Hicks for 7 years, $70 million. I know it's a cheap deal, but he's an injury-prone guy. He's always been this. You give him a contract after a home run, a career high in home runs, but his average was horrible again. Then he makes mistakes like that.
238.
Is there reasons why people sometimes are like, oh, I love Cashman, and then you see situations like this. And I'm not trying to be like every other Yankee fan that
I understand that.
overreacts.
You're exactly right.
But Cashman makes great moves like he's done the past couple years. But then he makes a move like this, and then this happens. You're like, what the hell, Cashman? Come on.
See you later.
Why would you sign this guy?
I don't think he expected when he handed that contract over to Aaron Hicks that suddenly Aaron Hicks
Joe, you could have done
was going to become injury free. But at $10 million a year,
it's not bad.
At $10 million a year, if he's out for the year before July 31st, you can go out and get a replacement for him, and you're still not breaking the bank. It's unfortunate that it happened later in the year.
Again.
Obviously, it puts them in a tough spot. The deal itself is a good one.
Yes, the deal's fine.
But he got through the season with his usual couple of stints, the obliques or whatever, what he usually gets. And he comes back, and you wouldn't be asking the question. But it's the timing of the injury that's killed you.
But you even know, Joe, if before he gave this contract, you would have even known. If you were Brian Cashman, this guy has a history of injuries. This guy can't stay healthy, it seems like.
We talked about this when he got the contract on the thing. I said, no way, 7 years.
Even a guy like you that's not in the
I would have given him the Severino deal.
A regular fan, you had to know that you're going to give him this contract.
But 7 years. Why not 3? Why not 4?
That's what bothers me is the 7 years.
Because if you offer him 3 years, you're paying him $20 million a year.
No, I'm not getting. No.
I'm talking like what he just said.
Severino.
Give him the Severino deal.
4 years, $40 million.
So here's the thing with Severino. You're buying out his free agent years. That's a totally different animal. Look what Arenado got in arbitration this year.
Yeah.
Those numbers have been going up and up and up and up.
And they're going to go only continue.
You do 4 years, 40. You'd like to have done 10 years and $100 million with Severino. He wasn't going to take that deal because
Hicks might need Tommy John surgery. I don't know if you read that.
Yeah,
Hicks.
Yeah.
What did I say before that? I'm sorry, Hicks. If he's Tommy John surgery, he's out till next June. I'm telling you, he will not be on the Yankees in the long run. He will not be.
Is he going to be a Jacoby Ellsbury?
No, he will be traded. The Yankees
not saying the contract, but with the hit, you can already see like
he's gone.
All right, if he has Tommy John
again, the difference in those contracts.
Oh yes, I know.
Right? I mean, you look at. I mean, it's not even the years on Jacoby that kills.
Salary.
It's how much money.
7 years, $185 million.
Oh,
he's getting paid $22 million the last 2 years to be
do
somewhere where I have no idea where he is.
Right.
Do nothing.
I mean, his name is a non-existent name in the Yankees.
That's a bad contract.
Oh, 100%.
The Hicks contract, it's not horrible.
No, it's not because
with his injury history, it's.
But they knew that going in.
It's not. Listen, it's not a bad.
He was signing an undervalued contract.
When you look at his potential, where he should be rated, and I think last year or the last 2 years, he's one of the top center fielders.
And that's why I agree.
It's just unfortunate that he has had the injuries. Now, I think he's too muscular, too built, almost like Stanton. They're almost baseball. You don't want to be strong. You want to be Gumby.
I think you want to Gumby?
I'm telling you, it's
Ted,
better.
you made some very outrageous comments today in this show. I would have to say.
I love the Gumby thing, and I agree with you. I agree with you a lot.
Watch Aaron Hicks. They talk about him. If you watch like the Yankees behind the scenes stuff, he's in the gym bench pressing like a football player. He's built like a running.
You remember Sean Green?
Yes, absolutely. Skinny.
I thought for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
he had like 50 home runs a year.
He was on the Blue Jays, and then he had 4 home runs for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had, to me, the right body for baseball. He was kind of tall and lean.
The Dodger now. The same one that plays right field.
No.
Bellinger. Same type.
Very much so. Yeah.
A little thicker, but same type of loose, tall, lanky, with a lot of power.
Look at him. He might win MVP.
Those guys were always great at baseball before these jacked up guys started showing up.
I wish Hicks, like Ted said, give him a contract like a Severino, like a 3 years, $30 million or something like that.
But you weren't going to get that. That wasn't going to happen. And again, those contracts are really different just because you're buying out free agent years as opposed to Hicks would have been a free agent after this year, at which point, I mean, somebody would have given him more than $10 million a year for 4 or 5 years.
Plus, it's a tradable contract.
Do you think they should have waited? And maybe after the season and prioritize who'd you rather have DD sign long term or Hicks?
I think would
you have waited?
Knowing you have Esteban Florial in the wings, the heir apparent to center field, or
maybe.
Right. I mean, that's what prospects always are, maybe. But you had that guy lined up, as opposed to when you went into the season. I mean, I don't think anybody expected Urshela or.
Well, no one expected 31 injuries.
Absolutely.
That's true.
But my point is they certainly could have prioritized, Dylan Betances has hurt himself because he was in line for an extension.
Did you think Mike Ford was going to be playing? Did you think he was going to get valuable reps? Did you think, like Joe said, did you think Gio was going to be an all-star third baseman, one of the best players on the Yankees? Mm-hmm. Did you think Gardner was going to be our best outfielder all season?
And have more home runs than possibly Aaron
I don't
Judge.
want to sound like a homer here, too, but I think if you're being objective and you look at the job that Aaron Boone did this year.
He should be the manager of the year.
To me, look, Rocco Baldelli's done a great job. A lot of these guys have done really well. Tito Francona's done a great job. They've had enough.
Absolutely.
How can any... I think I said this last week. I'm going to say it again.
Can you go against
31 injuries. If this was any other team, they'd be 20 games under 500 and completely out of it.
And you're playing for the New York Yankees.
And can I finally say,
there is pressure when you play for the Yankees.
Can a Yankee get an award?
Yes, absolutely.
Can he actually get an award? Because we know that there's no MVP. Nobody's going to get it.
Listen, the most important.
They ain't going to get anything.
The most important award is the one
World
in
Series,
October.
baby. Get us a freaking World Series. That's
with that being said, I think we should at least branch to that. What is the most concerning thing we have looking forward to the playoffs? Because I read the article last night.
I want to wait.
We only played two.
I want to wait. I want to wait on that.
We played 2 games.
I want to wait on that.
A team that's over 500. That's Tampa Bay, and that's 2 weeks from now.
I think it's the injury, just staying healthy.
No,
I told you last week.
You want to play good baseball down the end.
That's true.
I told you guys last week I was very concerned about them taking their foot off the gas.
Yes.
And they very much have done that so far this week. I'm glad the game got rained out last night.
But they're trying to.
They needed that because,
they're trying to just mix and match and give guys days off and play. But you want to win games.
Yes.
Because they know, Boone knows it and the team knows it and they said it. They know how much having the best record in baseball, well, especially in the AL, but in baseball.
Well, when every team in the meeting has won at home, home field advantage is very. And you were like the NL wild card. No, I think it's the most intriguing storyline going.
Although incidentally, the Yankees have been better on the road this year than Houston has, and Houston's been slightly better at home than the Yankees have.
The most intriguing storyline.
Tell what I said last night before.
So he thinks the NL wild card is the most intriguing storyline. I said
next 2 weeks.
To me, the most intriguing storyline is the battle for number 1 in AL.
I don't think anyone cares about who's got the most wins. I think when you I think that who's going to make, because here's the thing: the Astros, the Yankees, and the Dodgers are all making the playoffs, and they're all the
Don't sleep out the Braves. Because the Braves are running, maybe going for the number 1. I mean,
whatever. What I said is
get home
the
field.
team
You're both right in a way
that's
here.
going to make.
Are we?
I think you're both right.
The team that's going to make the playoffs. That's important because you just want to get to the show.
Screw them. They're just going to get to the playoffs. Who cares?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because we've seen wild card teams do damage.
Ain't happening this year. Nope. The Dodgers. The Dodgers.
Okay, here's the thing: the Nationals, Mets, both have the pitching staffs to go game for game against anyone in the team. Now they both have.
Yeah, they don't got the bullpens though.
But you know what? Neither do the Dodgers.
Oh,
but they're talented enough.
He's
they're more
not wrong.
But they're more talented than everybody else.
And Joe,
counterpoint made. That was good.
No.
Yeah. I'll do play-by-play on this if you guys want to bang it out.
You got the match.
That's great.
They have Pete. Oh well, I was just.
They got Pete Alonso
and the Cardinals.
I think you are 100% correct on that. I mean, look, obviously, and I
where
think,
am I? 75?
I think most people understand the best record is between the Yankees and the Astros, and it could very well decide. Obviously, who gets Game 7 at home and who goes to the World Series.
Yeah.
So that's very intriguing. But it's not like we're not sure who it's going to be.
You're agreeing with
It's going to be one or the other. It's certainly intriguing, but I agree with you, Ted. You know, there are teams who could sneak in, who could do some damage, who might be able to unseat the Dodgers, and my goodness, that would change everything.
Oh, and absolutely. And I think the same way with the AL wildcard. We know the 3 teams. We just don't know what of the 2. I mean, Rays, Oakland, and Cleveland are separated by I think it's a game and a half, less than 2 games.
Let me ask you one more question before you go. And it's about the Red Sox, because this was a team a year ago that was the best team in baseball by far, and we thought, okay, this team's going to be competing for a while. It's weird because the last time they did this, they won the World Series. The next year, they traded their whole team. It seemed like Jabrowski's gone now. What is going on with the Red Sox? They get eliminated.
No press conference.
They get AL East. They get eliminated this past weekend, losing 3 or 4. They might lose their best player, maybe to some, the best player on the team, Mookie Betts. They haven't signed a long-term contract with him. What's going on with the Red Sox? Why do they appear to do this every year after a World Series, it seems like. It's weird.
Because they've got a different standard than we do. And I don't have a problem with that. I'll be quite honest with you.
I just can't believe they fired the GM. There was no press conference.
Oh, yeah.
There was no nothing. But you know who...
And nobody cares.
But you know who runs the Boston Globe? Their owner.
Yeah.
John Henry owns the Boston Globe.
What were you going to say?
Which means there's no
What were you going to
reporters.
say? I want to know.
Sorry.
No,
Here's what I was going to say. Red Sox fans aren't overly concerned because of how good last year went. They're perfectly content with, what are you going to do?
Because the Patriots are here.
Sure, they got the Pats. Life is still good.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, I think it speaks to, as Yankee fans, you called last year a disappointment. You remember that?
Yes, I did. And I still believe it. This year, if they lost, it'd be sadness.
And I like that. I like what you're saying.
I'm getting better in the work.
This idea that it's World Series or bust, for me, has always sort of taken the air out of, even when they win the World Series, I've never felt like I enjoyed any of the championships because immediately it was, well, let's focus on next year already. We never even enjoy them.
They do it
There's
every
so much
sport, yep.
pressure to get to it, and then you never even enjoy it because now you're on to the business of
and we're already talking about
defending it.
They always show it every year after the championship, Super Bowl, NBA Finals.
Yeah. Who's coming back?
Vegas odds. Oh, they're looking like they're going to repeat.
The Red Sox need somebody like Brian Cashman who can build from the ground up and sort of.
The only problem is Cashman has.
They did.
Cashman has one World Series under his belt, and what I mean by one is guys that he's paid and earned. That was 2009. All the other ones wasn't. He took those.
The Red Sox had that guy. Now and they let him go
because Charles always says that Cashman didn't win. He's got one World Series, and that was 2009. That
it's
was
like the Tom. It's like
all
the
other ones
thing.
was from the other. Now this guy Dombrowski led the Red Sox to a bunch of World Series, but what's hurt them is it's kind of like the old Yankees. They have the highest payroll. And this was a big thing. They talked about the Michael Kay show. You gave David Price a $200 million deal. He has never lived up to the deal.
Bad contract.
You gave Chris Sale the big deal last year where you didn't have to. Knowing that this guy has a bad arm and a bad shoulder, and you knew that. You gave Evaldi because he had one good playoff series, $68 million.
Sounds like Carl Pavano.
He didn't pitch all season.
Yep.
You never shored up your bullpen. And you haven't signed your biggest player, Mookie Betts, who's probably not going to sign a deal.
He's not going to play with the Red Sox.
This is what Dave Dombrowski does.
He's going to do a free agent. He's going to go to free agency. Plus, they were showing all the other guys.
JD Martinez.
JD Martinez could opt out. You had the kid Pierce. There's a bunch of other guys that they need to resign.
What direction do the Red Sox go in now? I mean,
I think that's part of the reason why they moved on from Dombrowski. We need someone to come in here and decide where are we going.
And I didn't realize. And he also killed their feeder system when he traded away all his prospects for Chris Sale. When he traded all his prospects away for Kimbrel.
they traded
They traded away all their things. Cashman hasn't done that.
Well,
we've killed Cashman because it's like, what the F? Why haven't we made the move to go get this player? Well, because you know what? I'm going to live with my feeder system and I'm going to have this young guys grow up and they're either going to grow and produce or we'll see what goes on next.
You know, I was laughing last night. I guess Sonny Gray had a no-hitter going through 6 innings.
They gave up a 3-run shot.
But right away, look how great he is. And it's like, no, he's not great.
He's not great.
He couldn't pitch in New York. Some guys just can't do it.
Exactly. There's a certain standard that makes it.
There's
certain players that can make it, like a Jeter and Eli, and there's players like a Randy Johnson that can't make it in New York.
Absolutely.
It's New York, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Stop. Oh, because he plays for Cincinnati. He had almost no hitter. Oh, he should have been on the Yankees.
It wasn't Larry Rothschild's fault.
Sades, that's why Machado didn't want to play for the Yankees either. Not because of the money, too. He didn't want to deal with the Yankee pressure. Come on, bro. You think he wanted to deal with the Yankee? The first game he went 0-3 and got booed? Are you kidding me?
Nobody does. It takes a strong
human being. That's why
I think Stanton.
What were you going to say?
I think that's why Stanton, I think he struggled so far because of the whole New York pressure.
I think Stanton doesn't mind it. Because I'll tell you what, and I think you'll see when he comes back. To me, he knew what he was getting into. I mean, the Yankees weren't even an option for him to be traded to, and he talked to Jeter, and they made that happen. He knew where he was going. He knew what he was getting into. He knows what happens when you go 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. Yeah, and he's always said and done the right things. I was concerned because him and Judge were so similar with that. They're like best buddies. Yeah. It's been so harmonious in there. I was concerned about bringing a big superstar in to Aaron Judge's locker room, and now Aaron Judge is sharing it with Stanton and with Glaber and with Sanchez and with Didi. This is the kind of team the Yankees have.
It's amazing. A year ago, the Red Sox were the best team by far in baseball. The Yankees were right there. And think a year later, the Red Sox are maybe in rebuild mode. Don't know what's going on with them. The uncertainty in Boston will continue. But the New York Yankees have still the same team, and the hope is still there.
Can I give you one more thought on this?
Give us your final thing.
You know, look, the Red Sox are a good team. Just like last year when we talked about the Yankees were good, but the Red Sox were great. Mm-hmm. The Yankees are great this year.
Yes.
The Red Sox are good. Tampa Bay is good. If the Red Sox were to get into the wild card, you're telling me they couldn't make a run? I bet you they could.
Oh, that's
you don't think Tampa could knock out the Twins or the Indians?
I think the Red Sox could knock out the Twins.
Easily.
Or the Indians.
Somebody the other day said, the American League East has turned into garbage. Garbage? No, the Yankees.
3 teams.
The Yankees are that much better, and it's making Tampa and Boston look bad.
Flip the script from last year. The Red Sox were that good.
But you see what happens when it's the Yankees.
And the Yankees and Rays were both.
The Rays
won 90 games.
Or a 90-win team.
When it's the Yankees, people see it differently.
Of course.
The exact same scenario was last year where the Red Sox were just that much better than the Yankees and Rays. This year, it's the Yankees.
Kind of like the awards.
And all season long, that's why I keep saying the Yankees have done nothing but win, 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 no matter what happens, no matter who's out, no matter where they're playing, when they're playing. They just keep winning, and everyone's just like, I don't know, this pitching staff's not. What else does this team need to do? Who else do they need to beat before people are like, you know what?
Okay.
I think they're good.
Okay. Joseph,
that's where I'm at.
That's a great way to end. I love that.
That's what it is.
Right
Thank
there,
you, brother.
baby.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Give it up.
Joseph, as always, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. If you want to check out his Yankee podcast and Giant podcast, you can check them out now at Clovercrest Media.
And then you can check out all the other podcasts if you're interested in any of ours, Joe's.
Politics. They got it all.
Well, they have it all. They do a bunch of stuff.
They got everything.
Check out the CMG Clovercrest podcast. It's on Facebook.
And if anybody else is interested in starting their own show, let's talk.
If you got the guts to do it,
you can bring Joe on as a guest.
Exactly.
I'm on almost every show in some capacity or another. It's awesome.
Joseph, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you,
ladies
guys.
and gentlemen. We're taking our final break. When we come back, college football, week 2. Good teams so far. Teams that are need some concerns. Who's been the best so far? We'll talk about that all. Keys to the City, All Noise Radio. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Keys to the City, brought to you by All Noise Radio. Here's your host, Trevor and Ted.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. If you've missed some part of the show, you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check us out, Keys to the City.
We're back.
We're back. We have no Chaz in this week. He's a little busy this week, but we'll get him back next week for a massive week 4 in college football. Boatload of great games next week. But this week, we're going to talk about, next week we'll give us, after every 3 weeks, we'll give us our Heisman top 3 favorites. We won't do it yet. We'll wait until 3 weeks. But week 2. 2 weeks have gone so far. I think the biggest question for me is, or my biggest statement is, everybody pump the brakes on LSU first, okay? I know they went into Texas, Austin last week, in a great game, a classic Joe Burrow, doing things that LSU quarterbacks don't do, which is throw for over 450 yards. I mean, almost 500 yards passing. But last year, do you know they also started 5-0? They also started 5-0 last year, finished 9-3.
Auburn.
No.
I mean, excuse me, LSU.
Yeah.
Well, I said on the way up.
They beat Auburn.
Yes.
They beat Auburn on the field goal 22-21. But this is the same team that every year it seems like they start off great, falter down the road. They still got to play Florida, Auburn, Bama, and Texas A&M at the end of the year. I think we should just pump the brakes a little on LSU. Their biggest test always. I know Florida's a top 10 team right now. But Florida, I don't consider a national championship contender.
Well,
I need to
there's
see,
only really 6, I said.
We'll talk about that next week. But I need to see LSU. It always comes down to the Tigers against the Tide on November 9th. I have to see that. I know it's in Alabama, but I have to see.
That's a good weekend.
Oh, it's a great weekend. That's my birthday weekend. Is how they perform against Alabama. That's all I care about when it comes to LSU. It's like Michigan. Michigan could be great all year.
Ohio State.
But I want to see how they do or play against Ohio State. That's what it comes down to with teams like that. LSU's good right now. Number 4 in the country. Well deserving. Joe Burrow, a Heisman candidate, possibly. We'll see. Win big last week. The SEC, once again, is on top of the college football weekend. But let's relax. We have to see how this team does when they have to go to Tuscaloosa. No, they don't have. Yes, they have to go to Tuscaloosa this year.
Yes.
Let's see how good this team really is when they have to play in Tuscaloosa on November 9th.
Yeah, I mean,
so pump the brakes on LSU.
I mean, for me, this has been a weird start of the college football season. You know, we had week 0. My team, Florida Gators, won an ugly, sloppy.
We watched the whole game. It was a very ugly.
It was awful against Miami, and Miami's not that good of a team.
No.
Then you go, then you had the Oregon-Auburn game. And that was a game that Oregon should have won. They should.
That was their game.
They were up, and Bo Nix,
a great ending.
Great ending, magical toss. I mean, it should have never happened. The game should have never ended like that. So I don't really know what to take from that because Oregon should have won. They were the better team for about 55, 56, 57, whatever. Doesn't matter.
57 minutes.
But they didn't win the game. And it doesn't matter because people say, Ted, who won the game? That's really all that matters. Mm-hmm. All you got to be good for is that final minute. And then you look at last week. Last week was good football. We had the 3:30 game, Clemson, Texas A&M. Now,
Clemson hasn't looked
Clemson hasn't been impressive.
I should say Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Clemson has looked good defensively, running the football, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked like
he's on a pick in each of the first 2 games.
Like the self-proclaimed second coming of Jesus, as everybody said.
Now he's on a pick in both games so far.
Yes.
We know what type of offensive talent they have.
We know where they're going to be at the end of the year. They ain't playing anybody else that's going to be competitive.
Their toughest test was last week. And, what I take away is, they got the big game at Syracuse. They'll win by 25 points.
They're projected a 28, I think it's a 27.5 point spread right now. So 4 touchdowns. I mean, they should take care of business. They don't have a ranked opponent going forward for the rest of the year.
The biggest game that we could take away from this whole season, I think,
was last week's.
And
Texas,
it was the
Texas LSU.
And that was a great game.
Yes.
Great game. Back and forth. Texas fought to the end. But the end... why you would blitz on 3rd and more than 12 yards, more than 10.
My biggest
thing. It was 3rd
thing.
and plus 10, and you get that touchdown pass.
My biggest
LSU has been the biggest takeaway because they've had the most impressive win. But other than that, I don't have anything to take away other than Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in football by far.
Travis Etienne.
I would take Jonathan Taylor number 1, Travis Etienne number 2. Okay. I think Jonathan Taylor just complete back.
Oh yeah,
especially when he doesn't have Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback.
I mean, he's been there since freshman, and he's been one of the top backs since freshman year.
You've known that he's going to get the ball. Unlike where Travis Etienne, he has Trevor Lawrence in the backfield with 2 receivers.
Do you want to know what their
Jalen Hurts?
Do you know what their points is right now?
Points.
Wisconsin. Do you know they outscored their opponents in the first 2 games 110-0? They ever give it up a touchdown?
Nice. They always have a good.
I mean, their competition is not great. Don't get me wrong. But anytime you could shut out 2 teams straight in a row and blow them out by 50-plus points, that's noticeable.
I'll take from a college football fan. So far, the first 2 weeks for me have been uninspiring. Nothing really has grabbed my attention.
I think
Jalen Hurts was impressive in week 1, but it was against Houston, okay? And it seems like anybody who plays quarterback for Oklahoma is going to put up video game-esque numbers. He had a great game last week for about 2.5 quarters, okay? I don't know what else to say. I haven't seen anything that exciting other than LSU won in Texas, and that was it.
My biggest takeaway from the first 2 weeks is the teams like Texas, Oregon, Michigan, teams that have great
program.
hype. Great programs too as well. Great football.
That's probably the better word. They have great program,
but they had
not elite.
But they had a lot of people believing and saying, "Hey, this is the year, Texas. We got to watch out for Texas. Oh, Michigan, that team's going to be real talented."
There's a difference between good and being elite.
And then Oregon, another team. Oh, they got Herbert back. They got this talented team. All those three teams just showed again why all the preseason hype.
This is what it's about. There's 4 teams that are elite in college football. That's really what it is. Well, I know we ain't talking about it, but there's 4 elite teams in football.
Let me hear them.
Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And then everyone else is right behind.
No Georgia?
Oh, and Georgia. I apologize. Sorry. That's my apology.
Ted, you've been very bad today. You must.
Oh, stop it.
You might need a break.
They're 5. I don't put LSU in elite yet. Because what?
Exactly, like I said.
Because prove it. Because we've seen this story before, and the book ends the same way all the time.
My biggest takeaway as well, how scary is this if this hits you right now?
That's what I'm saying. You usually have the pen. Put that down. You always have
my other biggest
either in your mouth or in your hand.
My other biggest takeaway. Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My other biggest takeaway is, once again,
I'm hungry.
and I've been telling. So am I. I've been telling Chaz for quite some time now that the Michigan Wolverines are once again overrated. They are not a good. They're a good program. They are not a national championship.
Are you saying that because of last week's game?
No, because this week, these 2 weeks,
they should have lost.
They have not looked good. They should have lost to Army last week. Damn Army!
I can't believe that kid threw the pick.
They should have won that game. It is what it is. The reason why I say this team is not going to a college football playoff is very simply they have one of the most talented teams in the country. And I can compare this to the Dallas Cowboys. They have one of the most talented teams in the NFL. But do they have the quarterback that can get them over their hump and represent them in a college football playoff or in the Super Bowl? I do not think either one of those quarterbacks, Shea Patterson, I've never thought he was a great quarterback. He was all right at Ole Miss, but let's be honest, he ain't winning you a national championship, and that's how it is. They have one of the most talented teams from top to bottom. Don't get me wrong. Their defense is nasty. And they have a good running game, but their quarterback is the most important thing. They have the coach.
And it's funny you say that because when we talk LSU,
very simple.
We've always said LSU is one of the best coach teams.
And that's why I say pump the brakes on LSU.
And we've always said their biggest question mark is, do they have a quarterback that's good enough to win games? Now, when we look at Clemson, number 1, they have an elite quarterback. Yes.
Elite defense.
When we look, I'm not talking about anything else other than quarterback.
Okay.
Alabama.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And if you don't like Tua, whatever.
Georgia. You could still say Fromm.
Yes. Fromm is good. When you go to Oklahoma, you got Jalen Hurts. Yes.
He's
a winner.
won.
And what I've seen in 2 weeks is Justin Fields is the real deal, and Ryan Day knows how to work his offense around the quarterback that best suits them. They
just beat up a team, a Cincinnati team,
slouch.
who could be a top 25 team by the
nothing.
Yeah, by the end of the year, and they're probably maybe the best team in the AAC, possibly. And you beat them 42-0. That's still an impressive victory. I know it's Cincinnati.
Okay, yeah, because Michigan needed double overtime. Here's the thing: I've talked about it as a Florida fan. We haven't had a quarterback since Tim Tebow. Felipe Franks is not a quarterback. Now, Texas has a good quarterback. Texas got a good quarterback in C.M. Ellinger. I just don't know if they have enough around him. They've been hurt, had the injury bug in running back.
What do you think of Ian Book?
I like him. I really do. I watched him.
We'll see next week.
We'll see how I like his persona.
We'll see how good he is next week when he has to go to Athens.
See, that's another team that's you question, you wonder, because no one ever wants to give Notre Dame the respect because it's Notre Dame, it's a private school.
So that's a true test for both teams.
People just don't like Notre Dame because it's Notre Dame.
It's like the Yankees. It's like the Cowboys.
Yes,
you either love them or you hate them. Teams that looked good so far, or you got play. If you could give me
Ian Book is on Michigan, they're a different team.
They might be a different team.
If Ian Book is on the Gators, they're a different team. We've seen what Joe Burrow has done for the LSU. Take Ian Book and put him on
Auburn too, and maybe you got. I mean, Bo Nix is not bad. He's a true freshman, but you put Ian Book there,
it changes the ball game.
How about Wisconsin? You put him on Wisconsin. Ooh, him and Jonathan Taylor. That's a nice little one.
But we're talking about the top teams. We're talking about the Michigans. We're
teams that have looked good so far.
Yes, sir.
Or do you have players? Who do you have? Anybody? A team? I mean, I got three teams right now. I got the Buckeyes.
Okay, so I got
my Buckeyes.
So I'll start with the SEC. It's Tennessee. The debacle down in Tennessee.
That's a team that's looked good.
No, not looking good.
That's what I just said.
Oh, you want just looking good?
Who's looked good, and then I could say teams with concerns.
So look good. I'll say Ohio State, dominant.
Yeah.
And LSU. I mean,
I have Wisconsin too. I like Wisconsin.
I want to wait one more week.
They play Michigan next week. They're home against Michigan. That's one of the other big games.
Because it's so hard to tell right now because Nick Saban got into it with a reporter. When you're playing New Mexico State and you pay them $1.8 million to come lose by 55 points,
they're going to take it.
They're going to take the money, but it's like he's like, we can only play who's on our schedule. Well, then schedule better teams.
Here's my thing about...
Don't schedule New Mexico State.
Here's my thing about... But the teams that look so good, yeah, Clemson's looked good, but they haven't really. I mean, Texas A&M's been pretty good. Georgia Tech, don't know about them. Alabama's looked great, but they haven't played anybody. Georgia's looked great, but they haven't played anybody. LSU got the big win. Oklahoma hasn't played anybody. They've looked good. Ohio State hasn't really played anybody. They've looked good. But I mean, you look at LSU. The win against Texas is the most impressive victory all year
so far. Of all the teams,
and Ohio State has been dominant. They've taken care of business. Justin Fields,
just like Wisconsin has.
And Wisconsin was my other team. When you outscored in 2 games, 110-0, and you give up no points in 2 weeks, I don't care who you're playing. You're still playing. It's like the NFL. You're still playing the same type of players. You're playing college athletes, and you beat a team by 50-plus points in 2 straight games. You're doing something right. Now, the teams that haven't looked good, yes, Michigan is 2-0, but they haven't looked good. Army, they should have lost. And Middle Tennessee State, they struggled with at times. And I just don't, sorry.
That's why I think next weekend, more so than this weekend.
Yes.
This weekend, we looked at it. That's why Chaz isn't calling it.
Well, he's busy too.
I know, but there really is nothing.
There's not a major game this week.
There's no exciting games. You know, they had Reese Davis on ESPN, and they was talking like Syracuse-Clemson game was supposed to be a big game. But
Syracuse just got annihilated
by Maryland.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's not a ranked team. Then USC lost early in the season. You know,
got killed by Stanford.
So we haven't really
Stanford.
seen the matchups that we're used to seeing.
And then Stanford was supposed to play Central Florida this week, and then Stanford just got killed by USC. So it's like,
yes, the games that should have had better.
It'll be the best weekend so far the first 3 weeks.
That's why next weekend more so will give us a better understanding of what college football and the teams are about.
4 massive games next week.
That's why next week's college football will be a much more intricate and more interesting topic. And we'll have Chaz on to talk about is parity gone in college football
and in the NFL.
Yes.
We'll talk about that as well next week.
I think more so in college football, but we'll get deeper into that next week.
We'll talk about that all next week. Teams that haven't looked good also, and you said it, Tennessee. Man, oh man. And another team, UCLA. 2 teams that have the name. They are horrible, both of them. Chip Kelly 0-2, but Tennessee is horrible, man.
Well, first of all,
they lose to Georgia State and then BYU.
And you were up against BYU. You were up by more than 10 points.
I don't care. You lose to a team like Georgia State at home. There's something wrong with that program. Tennessee's in the dumps. They are in the dark days right now. I know Chaz always likes to talk about SEC has been so bad because the bottom is so bad. I don't care about Tennessee with that sense because it doesn't matter. They haven't been relevant for a couple years now since Josh Dobbs. Tennessee, Miami's another team, 0-2 right now. These teams that names are just atrocious. Yeah. Not good team.
I know.
And that's what I think hurts college football the most.
Washington lost to Cal last week.
I think that's what hurts college football a lot too, is these big name programs. USC is 1-1.
Save this for next week because
we'll talk all about it next week.
Really is,
but I'm teasing it right now. That's maybe one of the main reasons too.
Well, and it's really it's a 3-conference race. It's Big 12, it's Big 10, and SEC.
Yeah.
AAC is garbage. And Pac-12 is garbage.
Well, we got to see how.
And the ACC is garbage.
All depends on Utah.
Listen,
Utah's their only hope right now because Utah's 11 in the country.
The ACC is not good football right now.
No, other than Clemson, no.
Florida State is not good.
No, they're not. No,
did they win last week?
Yeah, they won by 1. 45-44 in overtime.
They end up winning.
To UL Monroe, Louisiana Monroe. That's another team. We'll talk all about that with Chaz next week.
They're not good.
Is that maybe the main reason why college football has been down? We could talk about that. Watch, this week will be great. No great games, but they'll be good.
All right, whatever.
So if you missed today's show, you could see Ted's ridiculous statement that the New England Patriots are going to lose to the Dolphins. Did you have any more ridiculous statements? I think you said a couple. Not too good today, Ted. Not one of your best shows.
It was definitely one of my best shows.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are signing off. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next Friday discussing college football. Chaz will be back. New York Yankee baseball. Let's see how the New York Giants, Jets, and the Patriots all do next week. We'll talk about that. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. Everybody, we are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.